Well, for more on the music festival and the music industry as a whole, I'm joined live via Skype by Cindy Lowe. She's CEO and event strategist at Red Velvet Events. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rachelle.
So I'm going to have you just think back to last year in the run-up to South by Southwest. Before we knew just how widespread the pandemic would be, what kinds of conversations were being had about the event?
Since we have been part of South by on the unofficial and official side for the last 18 years, we already started to get the inquiries from our clients as early as February, asking because if you recall, Mobile World Congress in Barcelona had shut down. So that immediately triggered a lot of our corporate clients that had global offices to ask us if South by was still happening. In my mind, because we did not know much about the virus and we also were under the impression that it was only in China and in Europe, I honestly did not think it had made it to the US yet. So in many ways, I had told our clients with confidence that we are already planning with extra PPE, but we are going to go ahead and still have the event because as far as we know, the event is still happening. And of course, as we all know, March 6th, the city officially shut it down.
So then when South by Southwest was canceled, did you imagine that that was just the beginning of the tech and music conferences being put on ice?
Unfortunately, we started getting inquiries probably as early as February 28th from other groups for April and May to start to cancel so we could feel it. But I honestly did not think that you would be asking me this a year later, that we would still be in what I call the shutdown of events. So that part is what I think is taking us all by surprise. I think we thought by now we would be back into some normalcy.
And then as we look at the domino effect, then how much is this costing the city of Austin then in terms of local lost revenue?
It's an undescribable number. I should have had the number handy to me, but just to use our company as an example, March is normally enough to double our normal monthly revenue. And this year, for the first time ever in 18 years, we didn't have a single South by event. So to go from 200% performance to zero is quite a shock in the system.
And certainly, obviously, a shock for a lot of people who wanted to attend this year in person. I mean, I want to talk about attendance. How willing are people to pay for this $400 price tag for an experience that is online only without the atmosphere that the in-person event provides?
I think this is the million-dollar question that all of our clients are asking. I have to applaud South by though today. Today was their first day, as you announced, and a lot of feedback on Twitter so far has been very positive. Now, I do know that some of the people that paid passes for last year got a complimentary pass for this year, so they didn't technically pay again. But I think that if South by actually pulled it off to be able to show that they can do something creative, I think people would be willing to pay for an online experience if they're guaranteed two things: strong content and meeting new people.
So then to that point then, how are these participating companies, marketing and ad firms really trying to reimagine these experiences that usually do require the in-person touch, like tastings, demos, and the networking?
So we've been challenged with this since last year, and we've been able to pivot and work with our clients on doing the customizations of the custom kits, where you mail them to their homes, and then also finding creative ways, because there are new ways to engage with people digitally. What I think will not stick, okay, is that people are tired right now. Going from one virtual to another, that's what's exhausting. So I think what's going to happen is that this is where people will start the conversation and then they're going to carry it on in person. So I do think there will be a hybrid when we are coming out of this, but I don't think it's going to be the same way that people are constantly talking about hybrid right now.
And that's understandable if you're sort of working on Zoom or Skype all day long and then having to sit and then watch more of these events on Zoom as well. People do get tired. So then I want to ask how much more effort and investment then is being made in this year's digital rollout versus previous years, which didn't have to be solely reliant on digital?
So I think this is where the mistake is being made. A lot of corporate clients are thinking it's less money to spend on these engagements. And I'm actually explaining to them that it's about the same. And they actually shared, Wisconsin is one of the sponsors at this year's South by. They spent the same amount of money on their virtual engagement, the creative engagement they had this year for their virtual, as they did in person, and they're getting that bang for the buck. So I think that's where people are not tying the two ends together and realizing that you have to still invest the same amount. And I will be honest, I think it takes a lot more effort, time-wise, to do virtual because you need a lot more producers. Think about the best movie you've ever watched or the best TV show. Think about how many people are behind the scenes.
Indeed. So then as you look at the overall pros and cons of digital festivals, what stands out to you?
Definitely the pro is it's a far further reach. Anyone that couldn't afford to fly to Austin before, anyone that maybe had child care needs and couldn't travel, you finally can attend virtually. But the con is the hallway conversation, hands down. It's very hard to have those hallway conversations when you're all digital. And I know everyone's saying, oh, you needed to just have it in the avatar world, but those don't work either because the gamification, if they're not used to it, it can cause a headache. And so that's why it's important to recognize who your audience is, the average age, and how do they normally engage with people online,
Right.
and go to them that way. So I will applaud, again, South by for choosing to do it more like a TV station where you get to choose which channel you want to be on to have that conversation.